sounds from the rhythm underground. Welcome to the We Love Guitar Nerds podcast, your place for all things guitar. We have your interviews, we have your lessons, your boomer discussions, and your verbal rabble-rousings. So please hit subscribe, share, and like to join our constantly growing musical community. We Love Guitar Nerds. We introduce Shane Speal, the self-proclaimed king of the cigar box guitars. Kind of a real thing, though. It really is. Like anybody who knows, you have your hand in every element, every part of the cigar box community. You're a composer, you're a writer, you're a historian, you're a maker, you're an educator.
Yeah, I guess so.
You do it all. You do it all. Thank you for being part of this.
Hey, good to see you. It's good to be back with my fellow pig feeder.
Right. So Shane and I need to go get the band back together.
Yes.
So we're gonna get your history. We're gonna talk your present. We're gonna talk about cigar box guitars, and we're gonna talk about your marketing. We're gonna do all this stuff in the span of whatever we have. All right. So going back to the beginning of your musical existence, what was the beginning? What was like the big bang of your of musical awareness?
Okay, I'm gonna really give you guys the cliff notes. But Grant, I came from a musical family. My dad played piano. My mother played piano. My grandfather was a pianist. Got to start playing ragtime in bars in the 30s. In the 50s, he was playing a duo in Pittsburgh in the 1950s. It was him on piano with a black guitarist, one of the first combined duos like that, and they were playing rock and roll, which is so cool.
Wonderful.
Fats Domino, things like that. So yes, I come from a musical family, but my big thing hit whenever, I was heavy metal all throughout high school until college hit, and I discovered blues. And in discovering blues, you kind of start with, okay, I love Led Zeppelin. I love Jimi Hendrix, Red House. I love this stuff that I'm hearing. Yeah. And blues guys always start to go backwards. And so it was like, ooh, I just discovered Hound Dog Taylor. Hound Dog Taylor just blew my mind because here's a guy that was playing raw electric Chicago blues on cheap guitars through amps with blown speakers. His band was out of tune, and they were the gnarliest, meanest sounding blues ever. And so he blew my mind. But then as a blues guy, I'm going backward more. And so I'm listening to Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf. And who came before them? That's where I got into the Delta guys. And, your Mississippi John Hurt, Robert Johnson, some for me, not a big one. But like Blind Willie Johnson just completely made my mind explode. Now, this is the days before the internet. So I wanted to know what came before the Delta Blues, and I didn't know about minstrel shows, and I didn't know about vaudeville. I didn't even get into like the field haulers that much.
Yeah.
All I know is one day I came across a story of a guy that was so poor he couldn't even afford a guitar out of a Sears catalog. So he made his own 2-string cigar box guitar with a broomstick neck and a cigar box and baling wire for the strings. And he used a broken bottleneck for a slide. And I'm like, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
One step deeper than the Delta Blues. And in 1993, I built my first. And since then, I have built probably a couple thousand more. I've lost track. But for me, whenever I made my first cigar box guitar, and it was a Swisher Sweet box, it was a piece of wood from my dad's barn that I used for the neck. And I put 3 strings on because I figured if that guy made one with 2 strings, I could add a third and be fancy like jazz.
Right.
But at the time, I was like, I had an old Stella guitar, and I was sitting there trying to play guitar rag, the old classic guitar rag, also known as steel guitar rag, which is a standard. And I was trying to play it on fingerstyle with a slide on a 6-string guitar, and it made no sense. It was just too much. I built my 3-string cigar box guitar. It had no frets.
Yeah.
And I put a spark plug socket on my finger. And I tried Guitar Rag and I felt like Eddie Van Halen. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
boom, it just came to me, and I'm like, holy crap, this instrument makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I knew then I found my instrument.
So
Um,
you had a like all the way going through high school. You played guitar like in bands and stuff like that. And
yeah, in
this
high
was
school I played bass. In college, I even had
come
a
to
little.
Jesus moment with at college.
What's that?
It was like a come to Jesus moment at college with
Yep,
Cigar Box,
absolutely.
which is saying something because as you said, we don't have back then. You didn't have the YouTube.
No, we didn't have
You got the
YouTube. We didn't
internet.
have. I mean, you got to understand, Rod, that like, okay, the even with the internet. Now, I created it without knowing proper history, and that became my instrument.
Yeah.
And then as years went on, and the internet came about, and I remember getting web TV in like 1997 or 1998,
Mhm.
and I would search the internet, and there was nothing on Cigar Box Guitars. And I realized this instrument was forgotten about. It was in a couple stories here and there, but nobody ever explored it,
Mhm.
like truly explored it. Which blew my mind. As you know, music nerds,
Yes.
we're always looking for that one niche that nobody's touched.
Yes.
And I couldn't believe it, but I found it.
Hmm.
And it blew me away that nobody
So cigar
really
box
gets
was a
to use
culture
them.
like we go back to the 1800s.
Yeah, yeah,
These were instruments that people could make out of stuff that they had in their barn,
exactly.
in yeah. So like
I mean, this is what we do in America. We don't
yes.
let things get us down. You got to understand, in the mid 1800s, the railroads started going across America. And so things started to be shipped across America in wooden boxes,
Hmm.
whether it be cigars or anything else. And so you had packaging material boxes everywhere with thin wood.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do? I can't afford a banjo. Well, I got this box that kind of looks about the size of a banjo,
Hmm.
and I put a stick through there, and that's American ingenuity. So
Dulcimers
yeah,
and
mid 1800s. This is the instrument of the American peasant,
yeah. Yes.
and it makes so much sense to me.
Yes.
It's what I was looking for.
So this was 1993. Then you go on to like kind of put together like through the years your own music using these
Yeah,
instruments that you're making.
I started performing. Like, I built my first in '93. I think the first time I performed live was 1995 at the Red Lion Old Fashioned Days.
Okay.
I was selling my cigar box guitars at my friend's store. There used to be a little store in Red Lion called My Penny Lane,
Okay.
and I was friends with them, and I would consign my instruments there. I mean, I spent hours on them and put $35 tag on them, you know.
Yeah.
And but Old Fashioned Days came about, and he said, "Why don't you play in front of my store?" And so what I did was I had a little tie-tack microphone. I shoved that into the sound hole of one of my cigar box guitars,
Mhm.
plugged that into a pig nose amp, and that was me. That was what I did to perform live with a cigar box guitar. Was
Yes.
just play some
Ingenuity.
instrumental stuff. Um, and yeah, then I slowly started to write my own music, develop my whole act,
Your voice with
and
everything. Yeah.
yeah, and all of that, took decades
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
develop. All of where I'm at now
You're
is
like, dude, you're like 30
decades.
years right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is wonderful.
So I mean, and then the next big thing with all of this is in 2002. I again, there's still nothing on the internet about cigar box guitars. So I back in 2002, there used to be a website called GeoCities, and anybody could make it their own internet page
Hmm.
free. And it was the wonkiest, cheesiest looking things, but you could have a GeoCities page. So
It's
I
a place
figured,
to start.
yeah, I posted a one-page thing, how to build a cigar box guitar. Very simple instructions. All of a sudden, people started to discover it and started emailing me questions. And I'd email them back. Well, I started to notice the questions were repeating themselves. And at and this is only after about 6 months. And that's when Yahoo came out with chat groups.
Hmm.
And I'm figuring, if I start one of these Yahoo chat groups, I can answer all these questions all at once. Well, that took off and it went viral.
Hmm.
And, it went over 4,000 members. And for a couple years, I was doing that and, trying to be an admin to, everything from interested woodworkers to musicians to then the occasional troll that would come in and
Yeah,
trying to ruin the group.
of course.
But it was the start of the cigar box guitar revolution, the
Yes.
movement, the modern movement that
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
gave this instrument its pedigree.
And this is all over the world now?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, you got to understand. I have shipped cigar box guitars to China. I have shipped them everywhere. For my band, we have pockets of fans, big pockets in Australia,
Hmm.
in the UK. Brazil is another one. Brazilians love the blues.
Hmm.
And it is worldwide. You know, what was it? When Paul McCartney did that thing
Think
with Dave
Dave
Grohl,
Grohl, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and he won a Grammy for playing a cigar box
Box guitar.
guitar
Yeah.
on that Cut Me Some Slack.
No, yeah, yeah. Sound City soundtrack.
Sound City, yes.
There's the
So
movie
you have things
documentary.
like that.
Yeah.
And it's worldwide. It is, you see it everywhere now. Stu Mac has their own cigar box guitar kit.
Okay.
You know, Elderly Instruments carries cigar box guitars.
Yes.
They're everywhere. Musician's Friend,
Yeah.
you name it, it's out there. And
Now, are these any better than like making the cigar box guitars an art into itself?
but here's the conundrum. Um, you have certain, like, there's some that are being built in China right now that
Uh-huh.
you can find on Amazon and such, and they are built to the same quality as Squires or other,
Yeah.
overseas brand instruments. Here's the thing: a cigar box guitar, in its own essence, is a broken thing to begin with,
Yes.
which is why you embrace it.
Hmm.
You are playing an instrument that is imperfect, and any attempts to make it perfect actually reduce its mojo.
It's coolness.
Um,
Yes, I
Now
agree.
I do have some fantastic cigar box
Yeah, I,
guitars.
I see these cigar box guitars at like six strings and they have like strat necks on them.
Yep,
That's not a cigar box.
it is. It is. It all depends. But here's the thing, and I'll play them all. I
Yeah.
will play them all. However, nothing beats you building your own cigar box
Mhm.
guitar. Um, because once you build your own instrument, it all changes
Yes.
because you took the time, and as you're building it, you start to hear the songs that this thing's going to play.
Hmm.
And there's an ecstasy about finally tuning up a string and hearing it ring out for the first time, and you're being like, I can't believe it sounds that good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's part of the magic of
Oh,
cigar
I
box
agree.
guitars.
I
And
agree. You're a little more forgiving than I am.
oh, very much.
So, all right. So now these days, so you had Jug Fusion. What is it? Your history? Your first band was Jug Fusion,
Yep.
and it was kind of what it sounds like, but cigar box related. You would
It
play
was
on.
cigar box guitar. It
Yep.
was a two-string bass that was an old Tisco Del Rey bass.
Hmm.
Now, my actually, they're one step before that. Jug Fusion was an album first that I had recorded, and I did all the parts
Hmm.
for them, except for a couple small things here and there. But I didn't have the confidence to put my name on it. So I came up with a band named Jug Fusion.
Yeah.
Later on, I had to actually put a band together for it.
Hmm.
And the crazy thing was, I had Gus Aguirre playing drums for me,
All right. That's wonderful.
because he was like, I just got a drum set. I'll sit in, I'll play with you. He
Yeah.
ended up, fine guitarist, ended up being my drummer.
Yeah.
And
Probably
we
great.
had, we had another guy, Mud Dog, playing the two-string bass with us, and me on cigar box guitar.
Yeah.
And eventually another guy would join, Ray Nutter, and he played washboard.
Okay.
Uh, so it was the beginnings of it. And it all goes back to, I always wanted to mix basically Black Sabbath and Fat Albert.
Oh,
Okay.
I love it. Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for,
Uh-huh.
is well, Black Sabbath, Fat Albert, and maybe the Blue Man Group.
Yeah.
because I want the theatrics on stage
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So that was the beginnings of it, and Jug Fusion lasted for a short while. Then I
But
started doing.
here, I think the important thing is what you did was you didn't wait till it was perfect. You're like, I'm going to make this. I'm going to start somewhere, and
Yeah,
of course, I'm going to edit it throughout my life.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So you didn't like, okay, everything has to be perfect before I no, we're just gonna, yeah. And it was pretty cool. Even though you say it wasn't perfect and you didn't have you're building up your confidence and all that.
Yeah,
It was still like mountains, like what you were
it,
doing. It was really
you
cool
just
because it was
yeah,
different.
just go out there and make some mistakes.
Yes, but even the mistakes aren't really. That's kind of like the guitar. You say the aesthetic of the cigar box.
Yeah,
It's damaged to begin with.
exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, it's all good. So Jug Fusion lasted for a while, um, and then Gus had to do things, and it wasn't enough to keep it going.
Yeah.
But I started doing solo stuff, and what I realized was just sitting there with a voice and a cigar box guitar was kind of empty for a bar that I wanted to be playing.
Hmm.
So I was taking a tip from Hassel Adkins, and I put a bass drum in front of me, and I was trying to play with cigar box guitar and a bass drum. And I was just talking about this earlier today. I did a show up in Bethlehem, PA, because I was part of a PBS documentary
Yeah.
called Songs Inside the Box.
Hmm.
And we were playing a film festival to celebrate that. And it was me and a few other guys from the cigar box guitar community. And I was the worst performer of the night. Nobody paid attention to me. I knew that I crashed and burned. And we've all had those gigs where
Hmm.
you absolutely crash and burn. Usually I would beat myself up, but I had a 2.5 hour drive home. So instead of beating myself up, I sat there thinking, what's not working?
Hmm.
What's not working? I'm trying to play. I'm beating on this bass drum. It just doesn't. The body mechanics isn't right,
Yes.
and so I went home and I scrapped everything I was doing. I stopped. I canceled a couple gigs that I had, and it's like, no, I'm going to rebuild this as a solo performer. And I started studying one man bands that got it right. C6 Steve had just come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would be playing a 3-string guitar, and he had this box that he kept a bass drum microphone in there, and he would stomp it.
Hmm.
And I liked that because he had this, the body mechanics were working.
Hmm.
And then Ben Prestige was another guy, fantastic blues guy from Florida.
Hmm.
And I would study him and just a few others. And I realized I needed a foot percussion that I'm not physically hitting that hard. So I created my foot stomper, and it developed it over the years, where it was a box. It was piezo elements, like contact mic pickups in there,
Hmm.
run into a preamp. The preamp boosts the signal way up, and I take the EQs and I kill everything except the bass. So all I have to do is tap it with my foot, and it sounds like a combat boot to the chest.
Hmm.
And that gave me my percussion. And then I had to learn how to play guitar again, because instead of trying to play solos and fast, everything I did
Had
had
to.
to keep with the rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my solos were sounding like drum beats,
Yeah. Yeah.
and everything I had to do got into that chug,
Hmm.
and it radically changed
How you
how
played?
I play. Even
Yeah.
now that I have a drummer in my band and I no longer have to kick the damn box,
Yeah.
I still play with that chug,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
It's
it's
like
that.
rhythm is the center.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Became the center.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I did the solo for a while, and then, then I created Shane Speal's Snake Oil Band, because I was running the open mic
Yes.
in downtown York.
It was glorious.
Now, this is where everything changed. And Rod, you were part of the scene.
Hmm.
In downtown York, there's a small smoke-filled bar called the First Capital Dispensing Company, and they have a Wednesday open mic. I was going there for about a year after I crashed and burned at Bethlehem.
Okay.
I went there every Wednesday to present some of my songs. I knew I would crash and burn, but that's what open mics are about.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
about
The
honing your
safe.
craft in
The
front
safe
of
spot.
people. Now, here's the thing about the first cap is that everybody talks over what you're doing. And if you can make them shut their freaking mouth for a song, then you know that song's a keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which actually then made my music combative,
Mm-hmm.
because you're
Yeah.
fighting against the crowd. But as I was going to the open mic, attending it, and then the guy running it quit. And so they offered the job to me.
Mm-hmm.
And for the next 3 years,
I was
I
going to
ran
say
it.
that wasn't a year. That was longer than that.
Yeah, it was 3 years
Yeah.
that I ran it. And the thing was, when you have an open mic, the host plays the first set, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
warm up the crowd. And then people started sitting in with me. Farmer John showed up
Mm-hmm.
with a wash tub bass made out of a plastic bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Lewis showed up playing harmonica.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one goofy thing I did in my open mic, I always tried to be different, was I brought a washboard, a self-standing washboard and cowbells and everything, and I
Mm-hmm.
called it the house drum kit. And
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
anyone ever wanted to play it, there's the house drum kit. Well, Ron Benway showed up, coming from Seattle as a
He knew
busker in
exactly what
Seattle.
to do with it.
He played washboard on the streets of Seattle.
Yeah.
So these guys are sitting in with me week after week. I have, washboard, harmonica, wash tub bass, and me on the foot stomper and cigar box guitar and vocals.
Yeah.
And without ever having a practice, just from jams, I
Yeah.
said, you know what, we're good enough. Let's book some gigs. And, I needed a name, and it was like I thought of the longest name possible. Shane Speal's world famous Snake Oil Jug Band,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was shortened later to Shane Speal's Snake Oil Band.
Yeah. Yeah.
But our first gig was a brew fest in the
Museum.
the Ag and Industrial Museum in York.
Yeah. Yeah. We did one of those. The Groove Jones'
Yeah.
first gig.
So you had hundreds of people around, and here we
Yeah.
are doing our thing, never a practice, but we had jammed every Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And basically, they learned to follow my lead. I could have them stop on a dime just
Mm-hmm.
by hitting my headstock,
Yeah.
or just moving my headstock. It was very Frank Zappa-esque. I
Mm-hmm.
could just boom, stop, and that was the thrill of it. And it's still that way now, all these years later,
Mm-hmm.
that everybody just watches me. And it's we half the time we go on stage without a set list
Yeah.
and just feed off the crowd.
Yeah.
But
How's that going to change? You're trying to do you're putting together a theatrical version of this.
Okay, this is the big change. After doing this for many years and dominating the stages where we go, I am ready. How I said, I always wanted to be Black Sabbath meets the Fat Albert Fat Albert Gang
Mm-hmm.
and Blue Man Group.
Yes.
Now, you and I were raised on Kiss.
Yes.
So we know that when you give a concert, you need to give a show.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm tired of playing
Not a
in little
recital.
corners. Yeah.
Not a
I'm
recital.
tired of playing in these little corners and bars.
Yes.
I'm ready for a stage.
Yeah.
So I am building a stage. I'm actually building a drum set for my drummer. My drummer now is Rick Stepina, and he plays a cajon.
Okay.
Well, I created an electronic drum set out of Coke crates where I put drum triggers in there. I run that to a drum machine board, and I have it tuned to different bass drums and different snares, since that's all the cajon is.
Mm-hmm.
So he can choose different basses and snares. But it looks like a pile of junk, and I'm building everything on stage to look like a rusty junkyard. In fact, my next step is I have this lighting scaffold that is 10 feet long across and goes about 15 feet high. And that's a lot of bands have these. They keep them in the back for the lights to shine down.
Mm-hmm.
What I need to do is I'm looking on bulk trash days for old mattresses. I need to get like a king size mattress. And what I'm going to do is take it in my backyard and take all the fabric off of it, just have the box springs.
Yes.
And that's going to hang up behind us.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to interweave lights into it, and car parts and things, so it can be half percussion, half lighting. And with the lights, I want them hooked up to a sequencer that is going along with the rhythm of the band.
Mm-hmm.
So that this junkyard is playable, is, you know, it, basically, yeah, it's gonna look like the Fat Albert Gang when
That's
they were playing their theme song. Um, I've taught people how
the
to make,
radiator.
yeah, I've taught people how to make guitars out of pitchforks,
Uh-huh.
and I play the shovel guitar and things. All those things are
This should
complete
be
stages.
noted. It's like one of the things that you're noted for now is you're putting together these viral videos that shows the people of everywhere that
Yes.
you can make a guitar out of a shovel.
Yep.
You can make a guitar out of a mailbox. You can make a
So this is the perfect transition because I want to keep this
yeah.
podcast going to to really feed everybody little tidbits.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my band is on hiatus as I build this stage. But
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime, my kids have been telling me, Dad, you're doing YouTube and Facebook. You should really be doing TikTok. And I had no idea what my content would be on TikTok because
Yeah.
I would scroll through there and
You have to
it'd
be
be
funny.
like it's like random things or middle-aged women bouncing their chests or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like it just half the stuff was crap. And then in May, I got the idea um, of show and tell. Basically, I am going to film what would be 60 to 90 seconds of dopamine. As you hit mine, it's 60 seconds of dopamine where I say, this is a guitar made out of a mailbox. Then you hear three seconds, and that's it. 3 seconds of me playing it, and then comes back and me showing it off again. I made it out of a mailbox I got from Walmart for $20, and it's one thing after another, and it's cut real
Yeah.
fast. All the edits are extremely fast. In fact, it looks like a kindergartner edited it. It's very raw.
It is
But what people do
DIY.
is, yeah, they're sitting there at night and they're just scrolling on their phone
Uh-huh.
and not paying attention. And all of a sudden, you get this guy throwing a guitar in your face,
Yeah.
saying it, playing it, and it took off.
Yeah.
I had one video after about 2 or 3 weeks of filming these videos. And in fact, I would post 4 videos a day
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
They always told me you should, keep them consistent, one a day. I needed to create a new audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over the top
Yeah. Yeah.
and I did 4 videos a day. And I have a massive collection of instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to do that. And I picked up all these weird instruments and did the whole, if you watch my videos, they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Guitar in your face over and over. Well, then after doing about 2 or 3 weeks of them, somebody commented, "Bro, you could make a guitar out of anything." And so I took that comment and put it at the beginning of the video and said, "Bro, I bet you could make a guitar out of anything." And I go, And then I cut away to all these different instruments, boat oar, and I'm show a guitar I made out of a boat oar, mailbox, and
Yeah.
it was like one after another. That video went viral. It went viral on TikTok and got me 2 million views on TikTok. Then 2 weeks later, even though I'd posted it at the same time on Instagram, 2 weeks later, it finally caught the algorithm in TikTok, in Instagram, and it went viral there. And it got 6 million views over there.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those started racking up all these followers. Now, the cool thing was, remember, I had already been posting 4 videos a day prior to the one that went viral. At the end of the viral video, I say, see my other videos to see all the details of these instruments.
Yeah.
Well, people started subscribing to me, going through my other videos, raising those ones up.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at now. In May, I had 200 followers on TikTok and 2,000 followers on Instagram.
Okay.
Today I have 130,000 followers on TikTok and 122,000 followers on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also want to say I've also posted these videos on YouTube and Facebook, and neither of them hardly did anything.
Yeah.
In my opinion, some people are still using Facebook and it's getting results for them. For me, Facebook is dead.
Mm-hmm.
For me to even spend time worrying about Facebook is a waste of my time.
Yeah.
My YouTube, I used to be known for longer form YouTube videos of
Yeah.
how to play cigar box guitar.
Yeah.
And those videos would get 3 to 5,000 views.
So,
Some
so
of them,
the minute and a half dopamine rush
yeah,
has been the new medium.
everything changed this year. Musicians, everything changed this year. 60 seconds of dopamine. That's what you're going to remember from this podcast.
60
60
seconds.
seconds of dopamine.
Yeah.
If you're going to post on social media, you're going to use the video that is up and down, not side to side. You're going to go up and down. That's how you're going to do these videos. Watch others that are successful on TikTok and Instagram,
Mhm.
and, you know, give us something. And don't give us shocking things. There's enough of that on the internet. You know what?
Yeah.
People love my content because it's wholesome. And even though it's me, high energy, I'm
Yeah.
almost like Chris Farley with a guitar, but I'm doing this, but it's wholesome. And I'm getting comment. Actually, my viewership, it used to be that the people that watched my YouTube videos were men 50 plus.
Yeah.
And in fact, it
That's
was getting
my
60
audience.
plus. Yeah. Now my audience is 13 to 54. And
Mhm.
it's mostly the somewhere between 25 to 39-year-old is a big part of it, but so
Mhm.
many teens. And I've seen this comment many times. I wish you were my dad,
Okay.
which, it, but they love the wholesome content. I mean, if you're going to get on social media,
It's
either
cool,
teach us
wholesome though.
something, show us something, but give it to me in 60 seconds of dopamine.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's going to take you a long time to figure out what your story is,
yeah,
to do it, over and over. But I can tell you, um, you know, use Facebook to post your gigs,
yeah,
because some people will look there.
yeah.
But you want people to pay attention to what you're doing.
Hmm.
Instagram and TikTok, and right now Instagram is king for me.
Okay.
TikTok keeps changing the algorithms.
They always change your algorithm. So
Yeah,
is TikTok is it a less of thing for you?
yes, my
I,
videos are getting a less views lately. However, the videos will they get less views in the beginning, but they will continue to get views going on. I'm not sure what they're doing. It's a Chinese communist, company, so you're
okay.
at their disposal for figuring out what they're going to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But either way, all I know is I'm putting out fun content.
Hmm.
I'm putting out 60 seconds of dopamine, and I'm showing them things that they haven't seen before. I'm weird. I like homemade instruments. It's what I've specialized
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
So
And
I found,
capitalize on your weirdness. Don't try to hide it.
yeah, I
So when
found
we
my little niche.
for you, so here's the thing. So I've done a little research about in the cigar box community, and usually when you see a lot of them, it's blues and it's folk.
Yeah,
But in the hands of you, it's also garage rock. It's also like
the
we're
Indian
talking about
ragas and
Indian
stuff like
rock.
that
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it
and
is
that's
anything you want it to be. It is an open palette of styles. Anything that you want it to be is what it can be. There is no rules. Which is kind of part of its appeal.
and that's part of that is also my personality. You got to understand, I've been doing this. I was doing this for a decade before anyone else knew about it.
Hmm.
And for me, the cigar box guitar was not a blues instrument, it was my instrument.
Yeah.
And I personally liked Indian sitar music. I
Hmm.
personally liked Michael Hedges.
Yeah.
I liked all these different things. And I would sit there and play it on my
You
three
didn't. You
string
didn't. You
cigar
didn't.
box guitar.
Yeah. You weren't a music Nazi. Like some
No.
people are like
Yep.
the blues guys. You've been to the blues open mics, and it's like everybody's
Oh my God. Yeah.
sounding like Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's like you know you have certainly everyone knows that you're blues inspired,
Yeah.
but it doesn't stop there.
No,
So now,
no. And it,
cigar box guitars in like education. Why does it make sense in music education? Uh, what are your thoughts on that?
I actually have a book in my bookshelf over here that is from 1921, I think, and also in 29 they had a second printing, where they were, teaching kids how to build cigar box guitars and
Hmm.
play on them back then.
Okay.
Um, why would you use them in education? Uh, Simple things. Number one, you're doing an instrument with only 1 to 3 strings, like the ones
Hmm.
that you have behind you. You have, less strings. Lug made a whole um, company out of that stuff. There it is.
There it is.
Yep,
There's
the
one
K
of
note guitar with the 3 strings,
them.
and
Yep.
a kid can put their you just bar their finger over it and play like that.
Yep.
So there's the simplicity of it is appealing for kids. Having them build their own is a sense of pride and creation. It's a perfect thing for STEM and STEAM education.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Uh,
I'd have to believe. Okay, its approach. It's not scary.
nope, nope,
Not
not at all.
scary because you're not thinking about I got to be perfect and I got to And it's
Yep,
like it's easy to. It's not easy. It's all things are relative, but to get your sound, you can make a cool sound without being a virtuoso.
right. And it's a hell of a lot better than giving them those plastic flutes to play hot cross buns.
Exactly. Again, go tell that roadie or whatever. Principles of rhythm, American music, like the study of American music in
Yep,
general. Okay,
absolutely.
so improvisation.
Yep.
Okay, these are kind of heady subjects, but in a cigar box guitar, it's pretty digestible.
And I can tell you that a lot of teachers are doing this
Hmm.
because I also work with a company called cbgiddy.com.
Yep.
Where is it? Just, yeah, here. There, cbgiddy.com. This is what I pull up on my videos.
Yeah.
But they have teachers that will buy, they have kits, they have cigar box guitar kits and
Hmm.
such. And teachers will come and buy 25 kits
Yeah.
and teach a whole class how to do it and then get the songbooks and such. So it's been fun over the years to work with that company and help them in some of the educational stuff, in the historical stuff. And the cool thing about them is they have told me that I can post a lot of this information free online. So, if you go to cbgiddy.com, you can see a lot of the articles that I've posted on
Yeah.
history. They also created cigarboxguitar.com, and they took over the social network that I started way back in 2009,
Yeah.
cigarboxnation.com.
Now, who took
And
that over?
all,
CB Getty?
yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, because it got to the point where I just couldn't,
One person
um,
can't do it all.
it's just too much,
Yeah.
too many plates spinning in the air.
Yeah. Yeah.
So CB Giddy took that over, but that cigarboxnation.com is a social network for people to learn and how to make and play cigar box guitars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I like
so
the
they've
fact that
been
it's like
very
kind of like
visionary.
goes back to kind of like music education of like a rote learning.
Yes,
The idea of rote learning, which we're all taught like when I was a kid, everything has to be done with music in front of you.
right.
And this is a completely different approach and aesthetic.
Yeah, this is like Carl Perkins sitting on his back porch having a sharecropper neighbor, make him a 2 string cigar box guitar and
Hmm.
show him how to play it that gave him his start. It is a guy sitting on a porch showing a kid.
Yeah.
That is it is that throwback education.
Yeah. Yeah.
Word of mouth.
I
And
kind of have to believe that with all this, social media and computers and all that, that we're going to want to go back to unplug
yeah.
on some things in life.
Rod, I after doing these 60 seconds of dopamine,
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you that in a few years, there is going to be a backlash generation that are putting the phones down because there's only so far you can go.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm making these videos and I'm profiting off these videos right
Hmm.
now, but it is not sustainable.
Hmm.
There, it's to the point where the TikTok scroll is so addicting. Everybody is finding themselves up in the middle of the night when they know they should be getting up in the morning. Um, and just over and over. And it's that dopamine, just a constant going after the dopamine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I'm teaching you how to do it right now, but no, it is not sustainable. Eventually, we're going to have to change things. And that's the other thing for musicians trying to market themselves. you always have to adapt with the changes. Um, I jumped on GeoCities when you could
Mhm.
make your own website. Then
Yes.
I created a Yahoo chat group, and then that died. And then I created a social network, Cigar Box Nation, and then that ran its course. Then I moved things to Facebook for a while. I was never a MySpace guy. I never got into it. I was
Mhm.
irritated by it, but that was just me. Um, and and then once I saw Facebook dying and my Instagram regular picture posts not doing anything,
Mhm.
then it was this year that I learned that currently it is these vertical videos, scrolling type 60 seconds of dopamine.
Mhm.
That's what's hot right now.
Yeah.
So as you're listening right now, November 2022, um, this is where it's at. In a year, it won't be the same.
Of
But
course.
if you need a tip for right now, this is what people are paying attention to.
Yeah. 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 So diddley bows and dulcimers. That's a part of your the cigar box kind of.
Everything,
Yeah.
everything.
Diddley
I
bow, for those who don't know, is a one string instrument.
Yep. The
Okay.
original diddley bows, they would take the wire off a broom, an
Yeah.
old broom. You take the wire off, you nail it up on the side of your barn,
Yeah.
and then you would take a couple bricks as a bridge, a bridge on each side to pull that away from the
Yeah.
barn, and you'd use a Coke bottle as a slide. That's a
You
diddley
did
bow.
you ever hear that James Jamerson? That's how he got a start in music.
I believe it. I
Because
believe
like
it.
he used to take the against the barn and kill
Yep.
the ants on the ground and yeah.
I listened to an interview, an unreleased interview of Bobby Rush, great blues guy,
Yeah.
and he talked about making his own diddley bow. In fact, he made it in his bedroom as a
Yeah.
kid, and people would come and he would play it all night long, and they just all just goof off and have fun.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I absolutely believe
But
it.
like the Jack White, those who don't know who the diddley bow is, Jack White, the famous scene off of
Yep,
um uh
it might get loud.
yeah, that's him making a diddley bow.
And what he actually patterned his from was a very obscure recording in the 1960s called One String Blues by Eddie One String Jones.
Hmm.
And here they found a guy walking through LA Skid Row holding a 2x4 with a string nailed to it.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious Jack White knows about that
Yeah.
because he built almost the same thing, except he put a pickup under it.
Yeah. 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 Yep. Yep. Okay, so for people wanting to get into cigar boxes, what are some tips? What do you think they should make it themselves?
Always.
Okay.
Always. And guys, there's free plans online. I wrote a book, Making Poor Man's
Uh-huh.
Guitars. Where is it? Let me get it. I'll have to push it. There we go. I wrote a book, Making Poor
Okay.
Man's Guitars. This gives you how to build it, all this extra kind of stuff, techniques. I even show how to make a tin can microphone. But if you're just looking on the internet right now, just Google it because there's many other plans out there,
Mhm.
simple plans, whatever. Build your own. Go to a cigar store. Stores sell cigars. They have empty boxes there.
Okay.
Almost all of them do. They'll either give them to you free or you'll pay up to at most $4 or $5 at most. Um, Cigar boxes are out there. You can use old guitar tuners. That's what my first was old guitar tuners,
Yeah.
an empty cigar box. You can do it and just do it. It's fun and you're not going to play blues deeper than one on an old junky cigar box
Yeah. Yeah.
guitar.
And you can customize it. That's the other thing that there's going to be people who are watching this that
Yep.
the idea of customizing their stuff by getting found objects and
Yep.
attaching it to, that's kind of cool. It's really
You
cool.
know, and I do have to say one other thing, and it was eye opening. I was at the Philadelphia Guitar Show yesterday, and I
Yeah.
know you had interviewed them about that
Yep.
before. Um, I walked through that whole thing, and nothing appealed to me.
Yeah.
I bought a junk old Harmony guitar from 1937,
Yeah.
and for $35
Yeah,
because
well,
I
yeah,
just
well,
loved
that's
the
the
look
cool
of it.
thing about it. This is
Yeah.
kind of anti, kind of like premier guitar kind of stuff. When I
Yes.
say that, it's like they're like real gear heavy, and
Yeah.
it's like you don't need $3,000 to have something that's going to change your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I walked around there and I realized the only guitars that really I paid attention to, I would see maybe there was two or three that people had. Like there was a homemade, what was it? A Thunderbird guitar. Somebody made a homemade one out of oak,
Yeah.
and they had no idea. But it's like that I would consider
Yeah.
because it was primitive. It was whatever.
Yeah.
But the whole place was filled with guitars, $2,000, $3,000, $40,000 or more.
Hmm.
Every Strat you would ever think, every Telly, every Les Paul, and it was boring to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me something homemade, something weird, wonky, and that's what I'm totally into. And we've done shows where who was it that oh my god, yeah, it was we opened for the Kentucky Headhunters one
Okay.
time,
All right.
and at Gettysburg Bike Week, and we were full of piss and vinegar that day,
Hmm.
and didn't have the stage show like I wanted or anything, but we just brought it. And then they came on stage, and they're the Kentucky Headhunters. They're great, but
Yeah.
people were coming up afterwards like, we liked you better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
It was different.
simply, it was different. We're not as good as them.
Yeah.
Trust me, we are not technically as good as them.
Yeah.
But that happened another time at a blues fest as well. You're talking about the blues Nazis. I We were at the Phoenixville Blues Fest, and we played one year. And before we took the stage, I brought the band back behind the stage. I said, "Come here, everybody, huddle around me." And they're like, "What's wrong?" And I looked at them and said, "Right now, we are the greatest effing blues band to ever walk the earth." And they looked at me like this, and they're like, "Yeah, okay." And we took that attitude on stage,
Yeah.
and we tore it up.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the day, I mean, the rest of the day, every other blues band was coming out there. I heard "Messing with the Kid" 5 times that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard "Sweet Home Chicago" at least 3 times,
Yeah.
over and over the same stuff. We showed up, and we're doing, if we're doing a blues cover, it's some crazy old
In the
Blind Willie
20s.
Johnson song,
Yeah. In
you
the
know?
20s. Yeah.
Exactly. Or we're doing "Personal Jesus."
I
Done,
was going to say that.
yeah, done like John Lee Hooker.
Yeah. If John Lee Hooker was in Depeche Mode.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
and,
how
he,
we
and he
do
was
it.
and he was playing a three-string guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the idea is um come up with something original and
Mhm.
give them a show.
Yeah.
Come on, that's what Kiss showed us. Kiss
Yeah.
showed every one of us. You
And
don't go out
what
there,
crazy thing is, some people don't get it. They don't.
you know,
It's like an
and the thing,
algorithm that they just that blows their mind that they don't understand.
no, and that's why I had to stop taking gigs right now with this band. Because I know we've run our course
As
as
far as yeah.
far as, I mean, there we could do a show and just rip heads off.
Yeah.
We're sloppy. We are not technically a good band. In fact, I'm the only musician in my band. I mean, my drummer, Rick Stapina, never played drums before, but I
Mhm.
begged him to be in the band because I love him. And
Yeah.
he's just hilarious. Derek, my harmonica player, is a professional blacksmith, and Farmer John is an actual farmer.
Yeah.
But we play like the apocalypse is happening.
Yeah.
And
You pick
that's
your people.
yeah.
Your people. You scripted it out. The script.
I wish I could have scripted
You
something this
couldn't. You
good.
couldn't have. You
It
could
just
have gotten a
happened.
studied bass player to sound like Farmer John.
And the thing is, Farmer John is the best washtub bass player I've ever heard in my life. And I'm
Yeah.
comparing that to recordings of Fritz Richmond, of these great jug bands of the 60s and such.
Yeah.
You got to understand, when I first put the band together, like I said, we never practiced. And so as I'm leading the band, I'm stomping and I'm singing and playing guitar. I don't have time to listen to anyone else. When we recorded our first album, there was a few tracks where Farmer John had to do his takes individually, and we're sitting back listening to him for the first time,
Yeah.
actually paying attention. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, everybody, Listen, he's playing. You got to understand, a washtub bass is a broomstick on a washtub with a piece of weed whacker string. Okay, this is what he plays.
Mm-hmm.
I said, most washtub basses go boom, 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 and they're
Yeah.
basically making a
A
bass
rhythmic
drum.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, listen what he's doing. They're like, what are you talking about? I said, he's playing gospel running bass lines.
Yeah.
I'm like, who does that on a washed-up bass?
Mm-hmm.
But nobody ever told him how to play it. So
30
he just
string.
figured he was raised up in the church, so
Yep.
he figured he better play it like church.
Yeah. Or yeah. So learning for those people who are getting started with this, is YouTube the best place to learn how to play the cigar box?
Yeah, I've my whole YouTube channel it has every, one string, three
There's
string,
not too
four
many
string.
people teaching this. Like, I don't know.
There's some.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
There's
like
some that have come
it's a
out.
growing thing.
Yep.
It's a growing thing.
But there's free lessons. You know what? Anywhere. I don't care what instrument you want to play. There's free lessons on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Just get started. Go make some mistakes.
And then meet some people.
Yeah,
If somebody knows something you like to know, then
exactly.
yeah. But that's what music does to you.
Yeah.
Like imagining the number of people you met through music.
It,
Yeah.
I mean, look at the community. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But there is no excuses. Make yourself a guitar. There's no rules.
Yes.
For a cigar box guitar, there is no rules in history that said how you tune them,
Yes.
because it was never written down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I tune mine to a chord. And in fact, I have
You have a couple
many
of
different tunings.
Huh?
I have many different tunings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I was
nobody
watching the
no
C6
rules.
Steve videos. You were talking about the C6
Yeah.
Steve tuning, and yeah.
Yep.
And then there's a power chord.
There's power chords. You know what? You basically just keep tightening those strings until they break, and then you put new strings on and don't tighten them as much.
Yeah.
So you just keep trying different things. And there's no rules to it.
Yeah.
In fact, why should there be rules to any music?
Right.
You have a stage. It is your job to fill that stage with music and theatrics.
Mm-hmm.
How you do it is not dictated in any book.
To be
How
entertained.
you do it is in your heart.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Shane.
No, no problem. That's all I got.
We'll love this. And yes, this is wonderful. Thank you for sharing everything that your life's work. Much respect to you and what you do.
No problem. And if people want to know what 60 seconds of dopamine looks like, both TikTok and Instagram, just do at Cigar Box Guitar.
Okay, at Cigar Box Guitar.
At Cigar Box Guitar on TikTok and Instagram.
Okay, got it.
And there you go. You'll see 60 seconds of dopamine.
Alrighty. Thanks so much.
No problem.
See you next time. Thank you, Shane. It was wonderful.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and thanks for doing this.
All right, brother.
Big feeder.
I'll see you. Okay.
See you.